That's where it's at. Nothing like a little music to come into. You know what I'm saying? Well, hey, everybody.
That was good.
Yeah, that's a nice little feature to overcome our other flaws.
Exactly. Welcome back. My name is Karina. I'm the ISA for Core Group Real Estate. And here we have Justin, our broker, and Tony
Ubaldini.
Hello. Yes, I am with Core Group Real Estate. Been here for a little less than 4 years, and I'm excited to be a part of this today.
Well, you're an absolute stud. We're glad you're on here because you're out there slaying it. You had as you said, a short 4-year career, but you're, I think, beyond your years and experience for sure.
Yeah, definitely seen a lot. Thank you.
Sweet. Well, to get started today, we are going to ask both Justin and Tony some questions about what do we as buyers look for when we're going to see some homes. But first, I want to ask, as an agent, how do you prepare us as buyers when seeing some homes?
Certainly. Yeah, I think for me, what I want to do is it all starts with that first consultation and learning a little bit more about what you're specifically looking for in the home. Because anytime we go to show a home or you want to go see it, let's make sure this is something that is specifically what you're looking for. It checks all of your boxes, because when we go, there's a lot of time aspect that's taken out to go tour a property. And I don't want to get there and find out, oh, this home only has 3 bedrooms and I need 4 because we've got kids. So let's cross this one off. So really want to be sure before we go to the property, this is checking all of your criteria and all of your boxes. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, no, I'd say agree with you there. Like the whole thing of, I like to let our fingers do the walking a little bit. You know, we can see so much now before we ever set foot in a home. You know, we can see when the roof was done. We can tell when the AC age. We can tell if it we look at the aerial image and see what it backs up to, and we can get on Google Street View and look across the street. And so I think when buyers are super specific and they've dreamed up exactly what they want it to fit in this certain box, spending a little time doing that with them, or teaching them how to do that on their own, because our portals all allow for that real quickly to get a really good sense of what you're looking for. Just those top level things that are going to rule it out, right? Let's rule it out before we ever even bother with it.
Mm-hmm. So I have everything specific. I told you I'm ready to go start showing homes. We're at our first home. What am I looking for? How do I know this is a good fit for me?
Yeah, so first thing I always like to do is you're envisioning yourself coming home. So it starts with when you first pull in the neighborhood. Before we even get to the house itself, immediately start looking around. What's the neighbors' homes look like? How's the community feel? Do you see people walking around, walking their dogs? Do you have children that are out playing? Or is it the complete opposite? Are people parked on their front lawn and stuff? Maybe they're not taking care of their landscaping. These are all things that you may love the home itself and where that's located. And like you said, like Justin said, his fingers did the walking and it's checking all of the boxes. But before you even get to your house, the neighbor's home looks like a haunted mansion. And we can't change that. We can't change what the neighbors are doing with their property, but those are things I like to look at before we even drive up into the driveway of the first home.
Yeah, I'd agree. The all those aesthetics matter to people. Not every buyer cares about that. Some do, some don't. So I think I'd say from an agent side, for us, it's important that we're not projecting things we have opinions on onto the buyer, but yet understanding what it is they want, right? Because if you like people parking in the yard, cool, that's okay with me. If that's what you want, we're going to go find that, right? But I think the other things are when we get inside the house, not being the little details matter, but keeping them in perspective, right? Does this check, let's start with the big stuff first. Does it, Is it in the area you want? Is it the school zone you want? Does it have the right amount of bedrooms? Is it, working your way down, because everything else, kind of south of that line can be fixed, So if we rule it out because of big stuff, there's no reason to spend time or thought being concerned with the small things. Oh, I wish they had painted this and done this. Well, you're not the buyer for the house, so it's kind of a relevant conversation. Yet, as soon as you've checked all those boxes and it does work for you, now we take it to the next level, which I think is what we want to talk about today. Like looking at detailed, the fine print on the house. How much of that can you uncover before you're writing an offer?
Mm-hmm. So, what are the small details that we should be looking for? Once we got, right bedroom count, right bathroom, perfect neighborhood. Now what?
I think it's looking for the things that they're not going to show you online or the pictures. So thinking of it like looking for the smaller details. Is there any obvious leaks that we see in the roof? Opening up cabinets and checking under the bathroom vanity, running the water, make sure there's nothing active that you can see yourself. These are things that aren't photographed and aren't included in the listing photos that now that you're on site and on property, let's walk around and check out the roof, check out the ceilings. I typically like to walk both inside and outside, take a full tour of the property and make sure there's nothing that we can see. Obviously, we're not inspectors, but there's a lot of things that you're able to see yourself when you're walking the property that could be something that we'll note down and make sure to talk about with the inspector. Hey, we noticed something on the ceiling in the master bath. Let's have the inspector get up in the attic. Tell us if this is an active leak or something that is maybe a non-issue. But just looking for those things that you just can't, that aren't apparent right out the gate. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, and I agree with all that. I think I always make a joke, you can see so much online now. The pictures are really good. Sometimes we got virtual tours and videos. So you really know what you're getting into a lot of times. Not every house, but a lot of them. You can't smell them and you can't touch them, right? So you can't tell if it stinks or if it's sticky, So those two things, when you walk in, it's just different. It's just a different feel than the visual. But, then for me, it's okay, how does it feel? How's the layout? Sometimes the layout's very difficult to tell, from the pictures or from the videos a little better for seeing layout. But and I know a lot of our buyers will be like, well, I want to see where this bedroom is in relation to the master and the office is, or the bathrooms, how they set up. Because sometimes you've dreamed up in your mind based on the pictures what you think it is. Now it's time to see, okay, how does it live? How will we live in this house? And then the other thing I'm looking for is anything that should affect or impact our negotiations, or that I could expect to be an issue come inspection time, like you said. Is there a certain age of house? A lot of houses in the 90s, which we have a lot of around here, had polybutylene piping. Has it been replumbed? We can't get insurance with that plumbing. So knowing what to look for and how to look for that. Looking at the electrical box. Has the electrical been updated? If you've got there's certain types of panels. Federal Pacific's one of them. I think Zinco. There's a couple of them that when you see, you should assess. If it looks really old, maybe take a picture of it and do a little Google search or ask your insurance agent, can we actually get this approved? Because if we're financing, we got to have insurance. If we can't get insurance, we can't get financing. So those are things that shouldn't necessarily rule the house out, but it should set the expectation for how we're going to negotiate and the obstacles that we have, in front of us.
So the buyers who have very specific criteria, like let's say there's a buyer and they just want to live on this one street in Winter Park. And right now there's nothing there. How do you keep the buyer motivated? Do you show them other homes that are similar, maybe on a different street over? What do you do in those certain scenarios?
Yeah, I think right now with the limited inventory, we're trying to think outside the box. So if they are very specific, right, where they want to be on this specific road in that specific area, we're going out and talking to those people. We're talking to those homeowners, whether it's sending them mailers or trying to get their phone number and get in touch with them and saying that we've got an active buyer. So I like to try those methods, those out of the box ways of, instead of being just reactive, we're kind of proactive. We're looking, we've got an active buyer ready to go, specifically wants to be on this street. Are you thinking about wanting to sell? Maybe it's somebody that would be interested in selling if they had the right buyer ready to go and can get the deal done. So trying to think outside of the box there. But once we've explored that as an option, it kind of depends on the particular client situation. Maybe a street up the road is just as good for them. So not limiting our options, just showing them all around, but doing what we can to really hone in on that specific criteria that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think.
Do you ever suggest going? Oh,
that's all right. I was just going to say the other thing I like to do is when we have something specific we want, if it's not available, trying to look at, it's kind of the opposite approach of how fast things are selling, but how fast should I expect new things to come to market? So what we've done for folks, especially in the low inventory market, is say, okay, well, let's do a search for what you're looking for, and then let's add the criteria in our search for pendings and solds in the last 6 months to a year, right? So we might see that, hey, here's your price point, here's the area you want to look in. And there's been 2 things in the last year that would have met that criteria, right? So that opens up the conversation to say, hey, maybe we should really pursue, either be really patient or pursue some other homes or areas. Or it changes and says, hey, we're seeing 2 or 3 a month come on. Let's see if 1, like Tony said, see if we can attack them before they hit the market, or 2, just be prepared knowing that, taking confidence in the fact that over time, more will come on that'll fit your criteria.
I was going to ask, do you ever show buyers, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, which is why I'm asking. Do you ever show them the house that they think they want, but you kind of know it's not right for them? So it's like, yes, we can see that house. But then once they see it, they're like, oh, wow, you're right. This is not what I want.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? It's kind of like the opposite. It's what they want, but in the end, it's probably not.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's all a part of the home searching process, because just like they may have a very good understanding that they're looking for something that's 2,000 square feet. Well, if I show you something that's maybe 1,700 or 1,800 square feet, but it's checking all of your other boxes, could this possibly work for you? So I'm all about kind of doing the educational process, that educational thought. So even if it's something that maybe I don't feel like this would be perfect for them, and they definitely want to go see it, I'm all about, let's schedule a tour, let's get you in there. And that way you can be in the home itself, and they could get a better understanding if they do like it or don't like it. I'm not here to say this one isn't right for me, because it's got to be right for you. And so maybe when you walk in, you've got that. I've been a part of that before, where it didn't seem right for them when they were going. It was checking some of their boxes, but maybe not all of them. But when they walked in, they had that like aha moment, like this one can be for us. Now, we had to do some things. We had to do some changes, but the layout was good. They completely changed the floors and the kitchen and stuff. They made it their own, but it was the perfect house for them. And I'm glad I didn't stop them from going in there by giving my own opinion. So I'm glad we got in there.
Yeah, I would say statistically, at least from what we see, most people who call to go see a house, and that's how we engage them the first time, rarely buy that house. Like, it almost never happens. Like, oh, I'm interested. That looks like it'd be perfect for me. And then we go see it, and then it's just not the case. Like, okay, let's uncover what it is you really are looking for, and then go from there. So, yeah, generally people, they know what they like, or they know sometimes, I think, what they want to like. I think old houses fall into this category of a lot of people want to love old houses because they love the character. I love the thought. And then you get in them and you're like, oh, like this is not as sexy as I thought it was going to be, you know? Or it's got some warts on it. Well, yeah, it's been around for 120 years, you know, what'd you think was going to happen? But I think you got to come to that reality on your own, you know, sometimes with what you're really looking for.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my last question is, there are no bad questions to ask, or buyers can ask you guys. So what is the most interesting question a buyer has asked you guys when seeing a home?
I've gotten, actually, a couple times now that I think about it, did they die in here? Because we know the situation. It's talking to the agent. I always try to get a little bit of information about the seller, the reasons for selling. You always like to gather their motivation because maybe they're in a rush or what have you. But I've gotten that a couple times from my buyers. Did they pass away in here? Because we know that it's now their son or their daughter selling the house. It's not them that lived in it. But that's always a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had that one a lot as well, or you know, situations where, you know, there was something that went down, like you said. I think other interesting questions. I don't know. I think there's
I tried tricky.
probably so many. Man, I would love to have a really good one for you here. Interesting fact, though, to pivot, because I don't have a great answer to this question. Did you know there's no disclosure requirement, at least in Florida, I can't speak for all the states, regarding Tony's question. So no one has to tell you natural death, suicide, murder. None of that is required disclosure. So if that doesn't leave you asking questions, you know, you kind of got to do some of that research yourself. Oh, and another fact, I did have one time where we were in inspection period. And they just simply Googled, and I think this is an underrated thing to do during your inspections or before you write an offer. Just Google the address. Not only was there a murder in this house, but it was a double murder, suicide, barricaded hostage situation. And that was a cool one. We found the whole article on it. So they canceled on that one. Yeah, they went a different direction.
Wow. But it doesn't mean it's a bad house.
So Google the address.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It could have been a great house. I think it was a pretty good deal too. It just wasn't a good enough deal for them to go through with it.
Awesome. Well, any last minute advice for those who are about to start showing or seeing some homes?
I think I would first learn what you think you do like or don't like. Like Justin said earlier, a lot of people have an idea of what they don't like, but give us something to start with, and it's okay to understand that it's a little bit of a process. Like Justin mentioned, you won't love, or you may not love, the first home you go and take a tour of. So just be an understanding with that I've been a part of clients that take several months. We're looking at 20 plus homes over that time frame. And then you develop more into what you do like or don't like, because you've got so many options out there and you've seen so much. So kind of having that plan and understanding that it's going to take some time. This is a big deal to be a part of. So giving yourself enough time. It's always scary when we get those phone calls like, my lease is up at the end of the month and I got to move. I much rather have somebody that's maybe a couple months out that can give us some more time to look at a few more homes, and that gives us a little bit more like leeway there to find homes rather than feeling like we have to make the move immediately for something that maybe not exactly what they want, but they have to do it.
I would just add on to that, find people you trust, find a realtor you trust, find a lender you trust, find somebody that has a good recommendation on your inspector. You know, these things are all going to give you, better confidence in the process. But also be open and honest with your goals and your intentions. I think some of my if I listen back to some of my hardest transactions, or ones that didn't, were not successful for one reason or another, it was because I had a buyer who may have had some trust challenges, and I don't think it was me personally. I think they just, have been kind of harbor, what their goals are because they feel like somebody's going to be able to get them or sell them something they don't want. And it's really hard to work towards your best interest when you don't know what it is you're looking for. So whether that's, hey, I've got a month and a half and I've got to work quick. I've felt that come out in anxiety by people not saying that. I think because they don't want us to necessarily sell them something quickly that they don't want. Yet they've got a time frame we're trying to work for. So the way in which we work, like Tony said, I think the perfect situation, we have time to work together over time, explore some areas, explore some markets, and really find what it is you're looking for and then execute. Versus like the fast-paced version of that, which is like, it may be just a different approach altogether. Or the opposite, right? So just being open and honest, and fair, but that requires trust. So find somebody you trust first and then be honest with them, because we can be of more service and more value when that is the case, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I know I can trust you guys. So.
You're the best.
Well, thank you both for your time, and I appreciate Tony being here today.
I love that. Thank you both for having me on. I hope this was valuable to some listeners out there, and we would love the opportunity to work together and assist you through the whole home buying or selling process.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you guys. This was good.
Till next week.